Hi there, good afternoon, and welcome to Speridian Streams. Thanks for taking time out and being here today. This is the first one of a series of webinars that we are planning for, so please do watch out for the upcoming ones. We will be running a Q&A at the end of the webinar, so we have enabled Ask a Question feature. So just pop in your questions there, and if you miss out something, don't worry. We have got you covered as we will be sending the on-demand recording when it's available. A quick introduction about myself. My name is Vipin Palat, and I've been part of Speridian for over 5 years now. In my current capacity, I lead the CX practice and oversee the implementation and responsible for solution. Been in the SaaS space for 10 years now and have been working with CX products along these years. Over to Lakshmi for your intro.
Hello all, I'm Lakshmi Menon. I have around 9 years of experience in the industry. But most of my experience is in developing web-based ERP, CRM, and healthcare tools on the .NET platform. I joined Speridian back in 2018 as a consultant and technical lead for Oracle Cloud CX Solutions. Yeah, that's about me. Over to you, Vipin.
Thank you, Lakshmi. A quick word on Speridian. We are a CMMI Level 5 global business and technology solutions provider with presence across the globe. We are a 1,000+ employee organization with over 300+ global clients. We have been working in this space since 2003 and have worked with our customers and helped them in their digital transformation journey. Now, along with our core competencies that we have around Microsoft, Oracle, SAP, and UiPath, we've also been building out next-gen features along with taking care of their business modernization. As a global business and technology solutions provider, we help our clients to modernize their businesses through digital transformation. At our core, we are a technology advisors with a proven track record of solving business challenges. As you can see, we have experience in marketing automation, CRM and CX solutions, cloud computing, RPA, and IT managed services, to name a few. So that's about Speridian. Let's get into the topic for today. We have a very simple agenda for you. We are going to talk about what are the challenges with service help desks. What is the solution that we have for that? I mean, how we can address these current challenges, and what are the benefits of our solution? Okay. Now, in this slide, we are going to talk about the typical challenges that the service industry faces right now. Now, what you can see on screen, a few points which are very, very relevant for today's subject. It is something that we've all heard about and have experienced of. Now, customer queries and tickets are a nightmare for all the support teams. Not that they don't like dealing with them, but since most of the contact center do not have a proper process in place, they do not know how to handle the excessive ticket volumes easily and efficiently. Now, good customer support is all about how you handle the volume. So every company hits a point where they will be unable to handle the volume definitely. And when this happens, you will not be able to respond to your customers the way you do right now. Increase in cost. Since you're completely dependent on human to drive the processes, you need to hire more agents. You need to ensure that you need to train them. So there is definitely a cost that is involved in this. And more the volume, the more the cost. Manual triaging. In today's world, support tickets can come from any medium. Customers can reach you through phone. They can reach you through social media. I think it's an omni-channel mechanism that we are talking about. So managing each of these channels can be a challenge. And it definitely will be a hassle if you're completely dependent on manual process. And when you do this, I think you're prone to human errors. Since you are doing it manually, there are all chances that you're error prone. And as part of this process, there are a lot of bottlenecks that you will have to handle. Now, before a support ticket actually drops into an agent's queue, or let's say that he gets an email with a customer issue, the actual ticket could have actually passed through too many agents before it lands to the correct hands to deal with the problem. Now, let's agree that there have been too many bottlenecks, and eventually this leads to a bad customer experience. Now, the result of all these problems that we are talking about is unhappy employees and dissatisfied customers. Now, when a customer raises a service request, your request is of the most priority for you. But on the other side, the support agent has to keep aside 10 things that he's working on right now to solve your problem. And he has no visibility that your need is of high priority. And this is an extremely difficult situation to manage, and it can actually lead to a lot of distress. In this slide, let's talk about an agent's effort breakup. Now, on an average, an agent actually spends at least 40% of his time in triaging the service request, as compared to the time taken actually to resolve the ticket, which is only 60%. Now, the valuable time that he could actually use to productively engage with the customer is being eaten up by the mundane tasks, which is analyzing, categorizing, prioritizing. So how could we ensure that the agent only spends time on giving resolution to customers' problem than spending his time on all these trivial issues? Now, as you can see, that 15% of the time is spent in analyzing the problem that the customer is facing. 10% of the time is actually spent in identifying the various parameters of the SR. For example, it could be the customer's subject of this issue, or it could be the type of the issue, it could be the queue which that issue needs to be routed in. 10% of the time is again taken by the agent in assigning the right priority, which has to be done considering the severity of the issue. And there can be there can be different SRs that come into your queue, which can be of different priorities as well. Now, also, the agent has to ensure that once he gets all these tickets, there needs to be a response that he sends out to the customer. Otherwise, the customer wouldn't know that somebody is actually working on this. Now, in a nutshell, what happens is you're actually spending 40% of your valuable time in just doing these manual tasks, and the rest 60% of the time is actually taken to resolve this. Now, how do we ensure that you reduce this 40% and you just spend more time in actually understanding the issue and giving a proper resolution to the customer? Now, all these problems that we are talking about definitely has an effect on business. Let's say what happens when an agent spends a lot of time on all these repetitive tasks. It's quite human to get bored of doing the same stuff again and again, and studies have shown that lack of job satisfaction is high among contact center agents who spend a lot of time on these manual repetitive tasks. Now, this definitely causes a decrease in productivity, and according to an MITS research, there is a 30% decrease in the productivity when the agents actually spend a lot of time on doing these tasks. Now, customers always expect a quick response when they raise an issue, and 82% of the customers have said that they expect a response within an hour of raising an issue, which is very, very high expectation from a customer standpoint, and it's quite natural as well. But since you're taking a lot of time to respond to your customers, since there is a lot of manual intervention that is involved, you lose most of your customers because of your inability to engage with the customers. Now, what happens? 40% of your customers just gets dropped off. They do not want to stay with you because of all these problems. Now, all these things also has a cost adversity to this. Now, studies have shown that the average cost per ticket for service helpdesk, which do not employ automation, is around $15. So there is an 80% higher cost that you have to spend in hiring more agents, training them, getting them enabled with the processes that you're doing. And this also leads to higher staffing cost. So you typically spend around $4,000 to hire an agent, and then once he gets hired, he needs to be trained on all these processes. So all these parameters has a huge effect on business, and if you do not have automation in place, what we are talking about is having a severe impact on your business operations. Now, before we dive into the solution, now let us have a quick look at the traditional triaging methods. Now, you have an omni-channel system that takes in service requests from various channels. Now, this automatically creates a service request. Initially, the tickets which gets created fall into a common queue or default queue, which will be monitored either by a contact center coordinator who will read through and then route it to the respective teams, and then this can be resolved, or it can be put into a default queue, and then the agent can pull up the request and work as they wish. Either way, there is a lot of time that is being wasted in accurately routing the ticket. Now, good chance for service requests being bounced around, especially when there are issues that overlap several departments. You might have fields or attributes against the service request that that help you to classify this SR. Now, this filling part is done manually by an agent, and based on the values in these fields, business rules will also be applied to the tickets so that they can be routed appropriately and SLAs can be set. So what we have spoken right now is a classic triaging process which we have been following day in and day out. So let's look at a stage where you do not have automation in place. Now, when the volume of tickets are high and there are no proper automated programs in place, it could take a good amount of time before an agent can reach a service request that was created some time ago. Now, mostly agents follow first come, first serve basis because the ticket is already there in his queue. He just picks it up, he starts working on it, and then he closes that ticket. Now, a customer has sent a high priority email at 11 a.m. The system automatically converts the email into a service request, and this ticket falls into a common queue. Now, if this queue has already another 50 SRs that had come prior to this customer created this SR, regardless of the priority of the other issues, the agent will only open this SR once he is done with the remaining tickets. So in 55 minutes that have passed before the agent has actually, you've lost 55 minutes before the agent has actually opened the SR. Now, there is a manual task that the agent needs to do. He needs to classify, he needs to reroute it to a different department or to a different agent. Now, there is another 10 minutes that he spends in doing this. And finally, the response that goes out to the customer is at 12:10. So we are talking about 70 minutes to respond to a ticket without an automation in place. And this is where our problem lies. Now, the customer was expecting to receive a resolution for this high priority ticket within 2 minutes, whereas the agent has spent 70 minutes in responding. So what are we talking about? You've lost your customer. The customer, once he created the service ticket, let's assume that there was a disappointment in him, but by the 70 minutes, he has decided to move out of your company itself. So this is a very, very critical problem. And we got to figure out how you can keep your customers happy and how do you engage rightly with your customers. Now, this scenario could be totally avoided if you have an automatic triaging engine in place. And this is where our solution that we've developed will help customers and organizations. We have built an engine that can not only understand the customer's problem, but also route the service request automatically to the right team. It can notify the agents if there is a high priority SR, and the agent can immediately start working on it. What are we talking about? We are talking about a solution which can keep the agents occupied, which can also ensure that your customers are satisfied. Over to Lakshmi to take you through what we have built and what is the solution.
Thank you, Vipin, for taking us through the consequences of not adopting automation in business processes. So you have heard that the solution is an AI-powered automation, and you're probably wondering what is intelligent about the solution. To describe it on a high level, this triaging engine that we have built on the Oracle Sales and Service Cloud not only can understand what your customer wants, but it can also understand what your customer is feeling. On top of that, if the engine is faced with a situation where it doesn't understand, it is going to observe the human. In this case, it's the service agent, and it's going to remember and learn from the actions that the agent takes. Let's deep dive into the solution a little bit, okay? The entire premise of this solution is based on triaging rules. Triaging rules are basically the mapping between the content of an SR and the actions taken against it. Let's take an example of an organization that sells home appliances like refrigerators, ovens, washing machines, etc. Okay. Now, if a customer raises an issue with his refrigerator, saying that the freezer has stopped working or something like that, the agent is going to route this SR to a refrigerator repair team. That's action number 1. The product that the agent is going to assign this SR would be chosen as refrigerator. That's action number 2. And the category of the SR would be chosen as repair. Action number 3. So you have 3 actions against one content, that is a problem with the freezer. This mapping between cause and the set of actions is what a triaging rule consists of. These triaging rules are consumed and generated by the triaging engine. This triaging engine consists of 2 components, an analysis engine and a rule generating engine. The analysis engine employs natural language processing algorithms to analyze the content of the incoming SR and triage the SR based on the rules that have been set up. The rule generating engine consists of natural language generating algorithms that create new triaging rules based on patterns derived from the agent's actions on service requests. In short, the combination of these two engines results in a self-sufficient triaging system that teaches itself how to triage even unusual service requests. Now, coming to the features of this triaging engine, this engine has the ability to understand what the customer is saying, and it can also figure out the sentiment of the customer at the time. This is perhaps the holy grail of all AI-based communication systems, right? And apart from this, it can also identify the language that the SR was created in. It's a very useful feature for organizations that have a global client base emailing in from various parts of the world. And based on the content, language, and the customer sentiment, the engine will set the various fields important to tag the SR. It will set the priority of the SR, and it will route it to the appropriate queue from where it will get assigned to an agent. The engine will also notify the agent via email or SMS if it's a high priority SR. And by classifying the SR in advance, it enables relevant knowledge articles to be automatically recommended to the agent working on the SR. Now, with the customer's sentiment identified, quick responses that can be predefined by the organization to handle various levels of customer escalations can be used to manage the customer's dissatisfaction with accuracy. The engine also has a learning mechanism built in, which it uses to continuously learn and improve its accuracy at triaging the SR. Now, let's take a look at a high-level process flow. An SR comes into the system. Immediately, the AI engine processes the service request by reading the content and applying triaging rules. If it is triaged successfully, the service request gets routed to the correct queue and the team can start resolving it. The unprocessed SRs, those that are not triaged successfully, basically get routed to a level 1 agent or a contact center coordinator who will manually triage the SR and route it to the appropriate queue. The AI engine is going to be watching all of these triaging actions, and it will also remember them. And over a period of time, it will extract patterns from the agent's behavior, and it will learn what to do with new kinds of service requests. Let's take a look at how a service helpdesk agent triages an SR in a system where there is no automation. Okay. So we have a customer, Mr. Tim Jones, who has an issue with his refrigerator that he purchased a couple of weeks back. He wants someone to look at it urgently, right? So he shoots off an email to the service help desk of your organization. Now, Alex Smith, who is a level 1 agent, logs into the system. His responsibility is to route all incoming service requests to the respective departments and to respond to the customers. And we see that Mr. Tim Jones's email has been converted into a service request ticket and has landed in the common ticket pool. Alex Smith opens the service requests on a first come first serve basis. And as you can see here, there is no information associated with the service request yet. It's Alex Smith's job to fill in all of these blank fields after analyzing the ticket. He sees that there is an issue with the refrigerator's freezer and that customer needs urgent resolution. So he sets the priority to high, marks it as critical, and assigns a category. So category is repair, and the product is GL series side-by-side refrigerator, and Q is set to refrigerator maintenance. All of these fields he had to manually fill. He now proceeds to type in a response to the customer to let the customer know that the issue is being worked upon. Okay, so this entire manual triaging process that you see takes the minimum of 5 to 6 minutes. And on days where ticket volume is really high, it can take hours to respond to a customer. Now, let's see how an automatic triaging engine can streamline this entire process. For our solution, we have chosen to enrich the information that a service request ticket can contain. So apart from standard fields that we already have in our platform, such as severity, product, category, etc., we have also added the language, type, and sentiment attributes. And currently in our solution, we can triage 8 languages other than English, but this list can be easily expanded. The queues can be configured for various geographical regions in addition to the team's expertise. So as an example, we can have a refrigerator maintenance team for German customers as well as for Korean customers. And service request category and product are standard fields that can be configured according to your business. The type field classifies all incoming contact help desk communications into complaints, feedbacks, and inquiries. Sentiment is a very important field here as it captures the customer's mood based on the email that the customer has sent. Let's revisit the same scenario as before, where Mr. Tim Jones reaches out to the service help desk with his complaint regarding the refrigerator. So with the triaging engine in place now, when the customer raises an SR, the service agent in the refrigerator maintenance team is directly notified of a high priority SR assigned to him via email. He clicks on the link to SR in his email and is immediately redirected to the SR with all the fields already filled in with the necessary information. He goes through the issue mentioned in the problem description. He sees that the customer is disappointed, and the knowledge articles that contain the steps to resolve the issue are also recommended to him. He can attach the article to the SR for future reference. He can also shoot off a quick response to the customer from the predefined options. Here he is selecting a response designed to make the disappointed customer happy with a 15% discount code. And once he selects it, the email is drafted automatically customized for Tim Jones. The agent sends it to the customer, and now the SR is in to be resolved status. So basically, within a matter of couple of minutes, agent can get to resolving the issue. And in his queue, the agent can see an automatically prioritized list of SRs along with the time remaining to resolve them. So similarly, if an email comes in a different language, say Korean, the SR is directly assigned to an agent in the Korean refrigerator maintenance team. You don't need to configure different emails for different regions. The same contact email can be reused across the globe. When the agent clicks on the SR in the link, he will have all the related fields already pre-filled along with the knowledge articles in Korean language recommended to him. Same goes for other Asian and European languages as well. And responses can also be designed for various kinds of customer escalations in various languages. Now, your contact help desk not only receives complaints, but also feedbacks and inquiries from the customers. Inquiries can be potential customers reaching out to the service help desk to ask about new products or product specifications, or they might be looking for advice before purchasing. Such communications, if properly nurtured, can turn into a sale. So it makes sense for such inquiries to be passed on to sales agents, who can then treat them as leads and follow their own processes to close the deal. Now, our solution helps you turn the contact help desk into a lead generator as well. So a sales rep is immediately notified if there is an inquiry. He gets a new lead alert in his inbox that he can look into and convert it into a lead if necessary. You can see here that Anna Tom, a sales agent, receives notification about a potential customer in her email. She clicks on the link to the ticket that was created and is directed to the SR page. And she sees all the fields that have been pre-filled, and she reads the content, email content, and then she decides that this is a lead that's worth pursuing. So she can convert this SR into lead by clicking on the create lead button. So now that we've seen how the application works, let's take a look at the benefits of the solution. So with the automatic triaging engine deployed, the service requests come in resolution ready. No more wasting time on triaging. taking the same scenario as before, if a customer sends in a high priority service request, an agent immediately gets assigned to the ticket and also gets notified of a high priority ticket in his queue. And he can respond using smart responses all within a couple of minutes maximum. The customer who was disappointed earlier is pleasantly surprised and happy at the speed in which he gets personalized attention, which increases his loyalty towards your brand. Here we have a performance meter of our triaging engine. Without automation, a contact center coordinator can only triage about 12 SRs per hour. But with automation, at least 55 SRs can get triaged and resolution ready in an hour, drastically improving the performance of your contact center because agents are involved more in dynamic customer engagement and they are being utilized in actually resolving issues rather than being stuck in a rut of filling up ticket details. So their productivity as well as job satisfaction increases. Okay, so we have here a chart that we have plotted using the processing time against the number of SRs. So without automation, as you saw earlier, it would take at least 5 minutes to triage and respond to an SR, correct? And as the number of SRs increases, that time taken will also grow exponentially. So that's demonstrated by that blue line over here. So to process 200 SRs, it would take at least 1,000 minutes. But with automation, it barely takes half a minute to triage and probably another minute to respond. So the line remains linear, proportional to the volume of the SR, and almost negligible when you're comparing it with the exponential rise when there is no automation. Here is another interesting chart that we could plot based on the number of customer issues that could be handled in a timely manner in a workday. 82% of the customers say that they are satisfied if they get a timely response to their issues. So here you have a scenario where your organization receives about 450 service requests in an 8-hour time period. We plotted the number of service requests that had a timely response hour by hour. So the number of SRs with timely responses equates to the number of satisfied customers. And now we can see that without automation, you have a linear plot line where you're barely able to respond in a timely manner to 100 service requests in a day, meaning only 100 out of 450 customers who reached out to you were satisfied with your service. That's less than 23%, not an acceptable number at all. But with automation, you can boost up your customer satisfaction to more than 95%, as demonstrated by the blue line over here. So you hit the problem of dissatisfied customers right out the boundary with our solution. Okay, a quick look onto the reports that we have built in the system. This is the dashboard of our application, and you can see various metrics displayed here. The first infolet just lets the agent know how many SRs are open and how many have been resolved. There is also a report that has been generated on the team's performance, which indicated by the green line here shows that the response times are closer to the 1 minute mark. And there's a mood infolet that lets you know how many customers are angry and how many are happy at any given point of time. You can see the sentiment meter here as well, which we will look at in some time. And the third infolet that you see here is more on the triaging engine's performance. Basically, it keeps track of how many SRs have been fully processed and how many have not. So we had a look at all the reports that we have built on the application, right? Let's have a closer look at some of the reports, right? So the growth of any business or organization depends on how well their products or services do. So while you're connected to your customer via a service help desk, unless you have a robust feedback loop, you will find it hard to learn exactly what the customer wants or expects. And this is where our solution helps you be proactive rather than reactive. So at any given point, you can see a snapshot of which of your products are a hit amongst your customers and which products are facing a backlash. So if you take a look at these two graphs. You have a positive feedback graph, and it shows you that your double door fridge is doing extremely well, with 60% of your customers reaching out to your service help desk with a positive review. On the other hand, you have a negative feedback on your side-by-side refrigerator, where more than 25% of the customers are not satisfied with it. So basically, this view will help you to reach out to your product team to take action on improving the product. Okay, so rather than restricting yourself to putting out fires, you can basically use these reports to prevent future fires by delivering exactly what the customers require by listening to them. And when you see that a growing percentage of your customers are dissatisfied with a particular product, you can immediately act upon that analysis and improve the product line as a whole. So you don't have to work on a case by case basis. Okay. And this will help you analyze the unsaid sentiments of your customers and act proactively to improve your overall customer experience. And we have some other reports as well. So we talked about the triaging, right, that the AI engine does. So basically, it's classifying your SRs when you come down to it, and it's using some rules to do so. So this graph that you see here is actually a graph that was built out of how many service requests were accurately triaged by the AI engine. And we have built some mechanism for you to track that AI engine's performance as well. So just a look at this graph will let you know that the rules that have been built for the product are extremely effective, because more than 50 service requests have been already processed by it. But then the rules for criticality and severity need some work, because not all SRs were successfully processed for these two fields. And if you look at the sentiment meter, this helps you get a pulse of your customers. If you see that there is a dissent among your customers, you can plan with your marketing team to release some offers or discounts based on the reason why the customers are disappointed or angry. So you can focus on bringing this red line, you can make it smaller and focus on bringing the green numbers higher. And this is the number of fast responses. So you can see here that more than 80% of the SRs have had extremely fast responses. So what we call as extremely fast is responses that have gone out in less than 2 minutes. So in a day, if you have extremely fast responses, you can imagine the effect it has on your customer release, right? So let's now go over the overall benefits that our solution has brought to you. Vipin, you want to take the audience through that?
Thank you so much, Lakshmi. I think it was really insightful. All right, so we are here at the benefits of what AI can do for you. Now, we all know that AI has been a popular talking point in the technology field for years, but yet many businesses haven't implemented effective AI solutions into their operations. Now, the businesses who have not leveraged AI are losing out on the significant benefits that AI can actually provide them. And it is for this reason we would urge organizations to look at the solution that we have built. Any opportunity to increase your customer engagement is something that should be prioritized, particularly in the 21st century, where it is very difficult to grab and hold the attention of potential clients. Now, this is just as important when a customer has an issue or a query that needs to be resolved immediately. Now, AI can drive customer engagement for your business thanks to its ability to optimize your current customer engagement processes, and that's what we have been talking through over this webinar. Now, this also includes the shortening of conversation cycles. How do you give timely resolutions to the tickets? How does your agent do not spend time in manual interventions? Now, if you're not effectively using AI, your employees are also spending valuable work hours performing mundane and simple tasks, and that could easily be undertaken by AI-powered systems. A simple solution that we were talking about here is just a benefit of that. Now, the numbers that you see on screen, 95% increase in SR agent response milestone compliance, 80% decrease in cost per ticket, 75% increase in satisfied customers, and 70% increase in agent productivity. So there are a lot of benefits that AI can give you. And the solution that we have been talking about is something which is very simple. It could be deployed very quick, And the solution that we are talking about does not restrict itself only to the service request triaging. It can also be used for triaging leads. So if organizations wants to understand which leads needs to be closed quickly into an opportunity, the same solution that we have built could be deployed for a lead triaging engine as well. So thank you so much for listening through the webinar. We are very excited to have Sir Virj, who's the CEO of Cargo Padala Express, for a brief discussion with us. Welcome, Sir Virj. We are very happy to have you as part of this webinar.
Yeah, thank you, Vipin. I appreciate for you initiating to having me on this webinar. I hope to be able to share something out of our own experience in my company.
That's so nice of you, Sir Virj. I also want to take this moment to introduce my co-host, Lakshmi Menon. She's along with me on this webinar.
Hello, Sir Virj.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hello.
Sir. We just want to, if you can just take us through Capex's business model and your vision.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, I started the business as a logistics freight forwarding company in May of 2011. So we are barely 9 years in existence. So we are still young as a company and have so much to learn and so much to do. But we're making great gains year after year. So I'm very happy about our little successes, and I hope we would be able to accomplish what we desire about and our aspirations to becoming a leader in the industry. Actually, that's my dream. I am a civil engineer by profession and was doing telecom infrastructure projects for 18 years when I graduated since college before I decided to venture on putting up my own logistics company in 2011. You know, with literally no experience at all. I started hiring around 30 to 50 staff back in 2011 who are experienced logistics people. But they work doing everything about logistics using manual encoding. Everything is manualized. They use extensive Excel files. And I said I would have difficulty making progress if I just deal with, doing things manually, because I do not have the edge by, my experiences about constructing infrastructures, and now I'm into logistics. So I initiated to start automating everything. Since then, building my own logistics system and all ERPs, and I think it paid off. So that was the start. About my own company, embarking on technology.
That's great, Sir Virj. So Speridian has been your preferred partner in your digital transformation journey, and I know that we have been sharing a relationship over the last 1.5 years. So how has been your experience working with Speridian, and if you can just let us know how Speridian and Speridian's consultants have helped you in this journey.
Oh, Speridian Technology is a great company. It is my own experience in dealing with Speridian Technology by helping me out get into the desired digital transformation. I have acquired Oracle products, and it was a good decision on my part to be able to tap the services of Speridian Technologies. The people were very helpful and technologically competent, so that I would be able to significantly gain digital transformational edge, because of the ability that you have provided over my company using the different platforms that I have right now. So if I would say, I used to develop my own system by having my own organic tech developers before, back in 2011. And it has brought significant milestones, particularly in gaining ground towards market share. But then I realized, as things evolve so rapidly and businesses begin to be disrupted in the VUCA world, where directions are dictated by a volatile market, uncertainty, complex market demand, and ambiguity. And I began to realize that I will not be able to keep pace with the rapid development of technology. So And I also realized that my customers are beginning to adapt to the environment of Internet of Things, thus they begin to be even more demanding. So by that, it triggered my inquiry back in 2018 to just refrain from using my own system, but rather tap into known brands, I think that's the way to do it, and that's why I decided to tap into the competency of our partner, Speridian Technology, and it really paid off. It really gave me the ability to show empathy, towards my customers because I'm able to understand them more precisely and in real time. And I think it gave me a more sustainable approach to business, and that is what it has provided me now for better customer experiences. I think achieve long term.
Thank you so much for those nice words, Sarvaj. And I think you brought out a very important topic, right? I mean, it's all about automation, and and you are using Oracle CX Sales and Service Cloud. And our today's webinar is more on how does a bit of an AI help you on Oracle CX Service Cloud to just make sure that you eliminate all your manual tasks and then have a very robust contact center operations. So having been there, you have embarked on a step-by-step digital transformation journey. So if you can just share your experience on how this journey has helped CapEx.
Well, it has helped me significantly because it gave me a better understanding of things. Like I am able to gather data from the way my customers avail of our services. And I think it's about an issue of being open in terms of understanding the market trends, your customer needs, and how are they better addressed by known technology or data-driven companies. What approach have they implemented so that their customers, can become their fan base? And we know that in this era of experience, data is critical to understanding how our business can be relevant to our clients. And like you said, with Oracle Eloqua Engagement Cloud for Customers 360, it has allowed my company to receive volumes. Imagine volumes of inquiries, be it about sales inquiry, cargo status, complaints, customer feedback. And all of these are very relevant. Every data is important. As they said, data is king. It provides you an ability to understand patterns and how these patterns have been dictated by your own structure. So that structure is critical to better address the volume of data so that these patterns will produce your desired event. And I believe that volumes of data are great only to such an extent that should be able to manage it through better platforms such as the AI that will help you filter the right channels and address needs accordingly and with agility. Otherwise, the volumes will only break you or overwhelm you, and you don't want that. So it is
Absolutely.
important
Yeah.
to have that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks so much for that, Sarvaj. I think those are really powerful statements. So, Sarvaj, having been there and you've done a digital, you've actually seen that phase. How would a digital transformation journey help you? So, would you be able to share some do's and don'ts when it actually comes to embracing technology, and how can you use that for doing better business?
Well, first of all, like I said, you have to be open. You have to be able to understand what is the market trend. Like for my case, if I am too close or constrained by having just my own system, then I would not have been able to develop and even gain more grounds in the market if I have not been open to such an idea of tapping into known technologies developed by your company's Triaging technology. So I think that's really great. That's what I can share to anyone who would like to have more gains in terms of the market share.
Okay. So, Sarvaj, the pandemic has actually created havoc for the entire world, right? So what's
Yeah.
your thought on how technology has helped you to thrive during these tough times? I mean, most of the businesses are struggling to make sure that they operate. There's a lot of other issues that you got to face with. So how do you think that having embraced this technology, having worked along with this technology, this new situation, how is CapEx coping up with this?
Yeah, that's a good question. First, I think I was able to address that the business has to be able to respond to the disruption created by the VUCA world. But then comes the pandemic, and I think it's not only pandemic but also economic crisis that are being more disruptive, and it should facilitate a proper response to it. And I believe that the proper response to this kind of pandemic and economic impact business would be the ability to empower community, call that community empowerment. And this time of both pandemic and economic crisis, we need to ensure that community empowerment is provided. And you do that by providing technology platforms that ensure connectivity is strengthened among different stakeholders. You have the corporate businesses and employees, its partners, producers, and consumers, and any entity that builds up the economic spectrum. So any disruption, to address it more appropriately, is to do sustained connectivity. While it is hard now to be able to work in person, at least we can be comforted by the availability of connectivity platforms that can gather everyone and work, to build these relationships. And I think the Oracle platform, one that was, a product that I have tapped in my own company, and was able to be configured by Speridian Technologies, is one opportunity that will ensure that the community is empowered through connectivity. There really is a need to automate everything for faster and agile response. The influx of needs among our customers have never decreased. In fact, the opposite. So there is a need to remote everything as the best approach to efficiently address inquiries at a moment's notice. You have to be faster in terms of providing response. And I think the short sense of it all is that automation is more of a necessity nowadays in order to generate quicker or agile response. And I think this crisis, which is an emergency on everyone, will foster the need to recover. And out of that recovery, we have planned for 6 months recovery for my company to cope up with the challenges of the crisis, so that I would even try to, reinvent my business model. It's a challenge to reimagine our ways. So I think the crisis is challenging us to reimagine our ways in the digital transformation. Customer centricity, user experience, platform scalability, and intensified Internet of Things. The need to remote everything from the way you do your manufacturing works to production down to marketing and sales. I think customer centricity and the rest of business deliverables must be achieved through business intelligence. This crisis should not in any way derail us in our aspirations. It should now be an opportunity to demonstrate human resilience by way of tapping into technological benefits so that we could achieve more. So the reason we feel the need to respond is not about edging out our competition. It is really about my desire to provide better customer experience. And I think this technology being provided by Speridian Technology is one of necessity, and I'm very grateful.
Thank you so much, Sarvaj. I think you've made a very valid point there. Customer experience and customer engagement is very relevant in these times, and I think the more better engagement we have with our customers, I think it's better for all the businesses. Sarvaj, thanks so much for your time. I think it's a real pleasure for have been working with you for the last 1.5 years, and you taking time out from your personal busy schedule and to be part of this webinar. That's really a great honor for us. Thanks so much for your time again.
Thank you. Welcome. My pleasure. Thanks, Vipin. Thanks, Lakshmi.
Thank you so much, Sarvaj, for your kind words. Very nice talking to you.
Pleasure.
We are open for questions, and let's look forward to take up. Okay, thank you so much for listening through. I think we have a question. Is it a supervised or unsupervised learning that the triaging engine follows? Now, the solution that we have built is it's completely flexible and scalable. As of now, what we have is an unsupervised learning. But depending on the business need, if an organization wants to have a supervised learning mechanism in place, we could go ahead and have the triaging engine set up in that way. Daniel has a question. How did you perform the learning? Are you using Python? Lakshmi, you want to take that?
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Daniel, for the question. So right now we have not used Python. Okay, like we said earlier, we used NLG algorithms to perform the or enable learning. But we what we did is we used the in-house scripting language that Oracle Sales and Service Cloud platform gives us. That's Groovy. So right now we have built it on Groovy, but this is not to say that we can't use Python if the business requires it.
Thanks, Lakshmi. The next question is from Augustine. How accurate is the triaging engine and up to what accuracy do you claim it can reach? Good question, Augustine. I think that's very relevant as well. So, I mean, scalability and accuracy are two critical factors, right? And when we talk about scalability, the solution that we have built is 100% scalable. What we have built is it's a framework which is very flexible. It can accommodate any number of extensions, scale of extensions that it needs to work with, and it can even integrate with external systems. Now, as far as accuracy is concerned, I think it's all about data. The more the data, the more the accuracy is going to be. So as of now, the use case that we have developed, we could achieve more than 80% of accuracy in triaging and almost 75% of accuracy on the learning side. But as the system matures with more data points, more data, more scenarios, I think the accuracy will definitely go up. Okay, the next question is from Binoy. Is this graph per user or as a team in the queue? Lakshmi, you want to answer that?
Okay, yeah, Binoy. So all the graphs that you saw on the instance, right? So these are configurable graphs. What we showed you was an admin's view, but we can easily apply filters to drill it down to teams and also the users. So basically, you will have an overall graph that is for the entire service help desk, and then you can filter it out based on your team or your user.
Thanks. Tanya has a question. Can the same engine be leveraged for other use cases? Absolutely. Why not, Tanya? I think what we build right now is a solution for service request triaging, but I think there are other areas where the same solution can be deployed. Now, one use case is how do you manage the leads that comes into your system? And I think as part of the webinar, Lakshmi had a statement on that as well, right? I mean, it's not that you want your businesses to work on all the leads that they get in, right? I mean, you could have 100 or 200 leads coming in, but do you really want your sales team to spend sweat on all the leads that come in? No, you want to understand what are the right leads that you need to pick up and what are the right leads that you need to convert to an opportunity, right? I mean, you definitely would want your sales team to work in that model. Now, the solution that we have built can exactly be replicated to accommodate that situation as well, or that use case as well. So bottom line, the same engine, the platform or the framework would remain the same, but it could actually be leveraged for many other scenarios, lead being one of that. I think Binoy has another question. What's the interval in which the triaging engine runs? What impact it has on the performance? Binoy, the interval, see, I mean, what happens right now, it's not based on the interval, it's based on the service request that you get, right? So every time you get a service request from different sources, this engine would get triggered at the back end, and it's going to understand and then have the AI work on, right? Now, in terms of performance, the product that we are talking about, Oracle CX Sales and Service Cloud, it's a highly mature and stable product, right? Now, the solution that we have, which runs on top of this platform, does not have any impact on the performance. And as I was mentioning before as well, right, the volume of data, that's the critical factor here. We will have to definitely see in terms of how much of volume it can handle, but I think the solution that we have right now is 100% scalable, 100% flexible, and I think it would not have any impact on the performance. How long can it take to set up and configure rules using the solution? Lakshmi?
Yeah, good question. So, see, the most time-consuming part of the solution is to just collect and cleanse the data according to the business requirements. Okay, any AI system it thrives on data, right? The more data we have, the more robust we can make it. So once all the data is collected, the actual configuration will only take about 2 weeks.
Okay, thanks, Lakshmi. How are the SLAs compliance taken care with this solution? Okay, good question. Now, I think as part of the solution, we did cover as part of our webinar as well. But a service platform by default lets you to set various milestones and service level agreements. So basically, we have two milestones that we have talked about here. It's one is the agent response, which is nothing but you get a service request and agent responding to it, and the other one is the resolution, the actual resolution to the ticket. So the agent response for high priority ticket is set to 15 minutes. And that's the response that should go out for a high priority ticket. But we could also define for a medium priority ticket, it could be 30 minutes. For a low priority ticket, it can be 60 minutes. So all these milestones are notified to the agent, and he can actually keep an eye on what SRs are coming in and what he needs to work on. But the tough part is when there is no automation, unless you mention that this is a high priority ticket and this needs to be worked upon, the agent wouldn't know what he needs to do, right? So that's an extremely difficult situation. So what the solution that we have built is can actually work on all the SLA compliances. We could set up the SLAs, and based on the SLAs, your AI would start getting triggered in. And this solution will also help milestone compliance by automatically setting the severity as well. So that's what it is. Okay, I think we are done with the questions. So once again, thank you so much for listening to our webinar. It was a pleasure taking you through our solution. Thanks so much, and thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you all for joining. Yeah, bye-bye.